Can you beat Doc Lewis's Punch-Out without dodging? Alright folks, we're back. Last time, we took down both the contender and title defense fights without dodging. Heck, we even took down DK. But we've still got unfinished business. Plenty of you wanted to see if we can take down Doc. And honestly, I'm curious too. So let's wrap our hands and put on the gloves one last time for the Dodgeless Challenge. First off, if you weren't a Club Nintendo member back in 2009, this whole idea might sound a little bizarre. But sure enough, Next Level Games put out a special spin-off to Platinum members only roughly a decade ago. And in this version specifically, we get the chance to go toe-to-toe with former heavyweight champion himself, Doc Lewis. And after all that he's done for us, training us through the world circuit and cheering us on from the corner, we as the player finally get the chance to show our appreciation with a couple of right hooks to his skull. But hey, it's not like he's the most helpful trainer in the world.
I'm finally a fully rounded fighter, Mac.
Doc, I have a grapefruit growing from my skull, so you know what? He deserves it. Let's do this. For a quick refresher, rules here are just the same as our last few goes. In no case can we do absolutely any dodging to either the left or the right. And for the extra challenge, we won't be ducking or blocking any punches. Defense is out of the picture, folks. Counter punches are the only way out. But with that all out of the way, we can get to work. Alright, so what exactly do we need to be looking out for here? Well, for one, let's see what makes this so different from what we're used to. Although we're using the same engine and mechanics as before, this game is a prequel of Max Training, which means that we've got a whole lot more instruction, which would seem to make it a lot easier. But these teaching moments provide a weird conflict. The moves are supposed to teach us the evasion tactics, but we've gotta stay on offense, which can get kinda confusing when he tells you to do the literal opposite. That's just it, folks. We can't get thrown off by his mind games if we're gonna take the victory here. It's prime time to keep our wits about us. And while we do have to deal with a lot of the same from earlier challenges, such as no stun time and a heavy reliance on star punches, some of the other changes here should actually make it easier. Biggest of all, we only have to knock him down once, which is a relief when taken in contrast with the countless TKO wins we needed in the earlier runs. At first glance, that seems like a luck out, but old Doc still got a few tricks up his sleeve, and we can see those come together as early as the first of our 3 matches. So with that, let's get to the warm-up. Out the gate, it's clear these Doc fights have a real unique rhythm, because for one, he'll be talking. A lot. After every single punch. And you better believe these little asides eat up some precious match time. They're fun lines of dialogue, and I enjoy them, but they sure do slow everything down a fair amount. And to partner with those distractions, since we're purposefully disobeying him this round, Doc doesn't reward us with any freebie punches, which is something that even World Circuit fighters would give us. Most of our damage will come from interception punches in his attacks, but the flow there is bizarre as well. To get any star opportunities here, we not only have to keep our eyes open for timing, but also use a correct punch. Which might sound pretty basic. We couldn't just throw any old punches in the last few runs. What's different here? Well, let's take a look at this example with his clothesline. To my knowledge, hitting a left uppercut here will only intercept, but using a right punch at that same proper timing will net a star. So not only do we have to learn from the specific star frames of his attacks, but we also can't mix up which specific input that we need for that star. And apparently that little distinction was too much for my brain to handle, because I made plenty of mistakes from here. So dealing with all of that, how can we take our first victory? Alright, so we'll want to star farm on his delayed uppercut. Making sure to counter with a left uppercut after his voice line, I think this is the most reliable opportunity of the fight. Which is good, because I couldn't get the timing of his delayed jab attack for the life of me, and I would always end up hitting his gloves instead. Which is a real tough break. since Tuckering out of hearts and going purple is still our biggest threat, rendering us completely useless. Even letting him block us can leave us on the mat. But placing a couple of stars on his noggin, we eventually get him a couple ticks away. And while things start looking good, my bad timing kicks in and he lands 2 more punches to turn us purple. Exhausted and unable to move, we have to drop to the mat. But unlike some of my earlier attempts where I reset after going tired, we bear this one out. And hey, it pays off. We net 1 last star off of his uppercut and take the win. And now that we've loosened up the joints, we can get to proper training. For this one, Doc throws in a healthy bit of confusion to the mix. Now, we'll get multiple versions of very similar looking attacks. And since these can have different timings, countering here can be a real pain. Sure, we'll have our practice from the warm-up match, but getting just a little too confident in our ability here is all that it takes for us to purple out. But that's not even the strangest part of this fight. After beating Doc within an inch of his life bar, the match looks to go our way. But while we prep for our last haymaker, Coach instead steps to the background and chows down on one of his classic chocolate bars. But while that might seem a little grim, after snagging the timing here, we can make sure to research exactly when he'll pull out his chocolate bar. And using that, we can take the win here in round 1. Granted, I personally let myself get knocked down a bit more than usual here, but the results stand the same, and we've only got 1 challenge left. After taking down our first 2 matches, we unlock sparring, and this time Doc's teasing new tricks. But surely it can't be anything we haven't seen before. Oh no. This is absolutely our toughest bout yet, and now we've got plenty more to worry about. For starters, the frames between star windows are way tighter. In my case, this particular attack right here really threw me off. We need to hit right when his elbow reels back to a certain point, but a misfire will send us right to a restart. But if there's one move of this whole fight that's a real issue, it's his quick left hook. Seriously, get used to it, because when he says, "Wee," that's the call of reckoning. If hit by this, it means that Doc gets a star punch. And with that, he'll land the most devastating attack possible. Oh, and you better believe that every single time, he'll be happy to let us know that he's the one that invented the star punch. It was him, only him, don't you forget it. But like all our biggest punch-out foes before, there's a clear pattern for us to memorize. And we'll have to study hard, because missing a star here or there will become a huge problem. And here's why. You see, after weakening his health around halfway, Doc goes for a chocolate bar once again, which is no big deal. He's done that before, and we're used to it. But this time, with a well-placed right hook, we can actually swat the thing out of his hands. Which must be a good thing, yeah? Bad call. Doing this will cause Doc to get very angry and rip out of his classic red jacket to reveal a leopard print shirt that fits just a little too snug. And with a warning label and alarm sound from the World Video Boxing Association, this whole thing gets a lot more serious. From here, he'll be doing everything in his power to give us way more difficulty. And worst of all, he still eats the chocolate. Our efforts were for nothing! Whew, but hey, we made our bed. It's time to lie in it. From this point, we'll need to nail our star punch timing to the T to get him back down. And we've got to watch out, or else he'll pull out another health power-up. So speed here is ludicrously important. To finish off this fight, my best advice is to wait for a point in his rotation where you can reliably score a triple star punch. Even if this means taking a couple of extra hits, it'll be critical for our next move. After one of his famous star punches knocks us down, we've got him dangerously close to the end, and we can luckily snag an easy star from the uppercut. But then, as he steps back one more time, eerily familiar to what happened before, it looks like we'll have to do this whole thing over again. But right before he takes the bite, we place a star punch and beat the battle before he munches on the candy bar. As it turns out, damage done with a star punch counter actually impacts his health bar before he heals, and we can knock him out even before the calories kick in. So okay, that's interesting, And you know what? I think we need to embarrass Doc one last time. After all, he is the kind of guy to knock us down, let us get back up, and then floor us with a star punch. All the while having the audacity to tell us to keep it clean.
Learn your lesson yet?
Yeah, Doc. I learned my coach is a huge jerk. Alright folks, it's time to take it one step further. Using our knowledge from the first sparring victory, we're gonna try and beat Doc Lewis before he can even pull out his non-brand specific chocolate sweet. And no surprise, a lot of the technique to do this is very similar to what we just did with Leopard Print Lewis. But here, Star Punch timing is the only objective. After landing our preliminary triple Star Punch, we've got to make sure that our next hit nets a star. If we don't, then the whole opportunity is off the table as he steps back for a chocolate bar. So that means taking more than our fair share of smacks to the face, even if it puts us down to the mat a couple of times. But getting up, he tosses us a softball with a fan favorite uppercut. And here we can place the final Star Punch and beat him before he even goes ballistic. And a cool thing to note about doing it this way is that it actually means the end cutscene will change, and we'll walk out with him dressed appropriately. And there you have it folks, with Doc down for the final time, we can finally call every fight and punch out for the Wii, completely possible without dodging. Hey there, invent the Star Punch on this one up in the top right to see how we took down Title Defense, or Potshot down in the bottom right for another video. If you want to support the channel and get new videos every week, then knock the chocolate bar right out of that subscribe. But until then, take care, and you have a good one, alright?